Are you hearing bumps in the night? Seeing mysterious lights in the sky? Are there mysterious red eyes watching you from the shadows? Did you find a strange, oversized footprint? Do you believe in cryptids and the paranormal? Are you afraid of the dark? No? Well, you should be. It's time for Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio, the bi-weekly podcast that is dedicated to bringing you the legends and stories of paranormal events that occurred in and around North and South Carolina. So pour yourself a drink, dim the lights, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio. My name is Chris Edwards, and this is my co-host, Jay Gallagher.
Hey everybody, glad to be back.
In this edition, we're going to explore the tale of the Beast of Bladenboro. But before we dive right in, let's stand by for a special announcement and to meet our host. Hello out there to all of our loyal listeners. Jay and I just wanted to take a moment to make you aware of some programming changes. Effective immediately, we are only going to be recording and posting one topic-based show a month, instead of our normal bi-weekly schedule. This is to make room for a new live show that is in the works, called Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio After Dark. The format of this new show is going to be a non-researched, freestyle chat format, where we will, instead of discussing a specific topic, the topic will be whatever comes to mind, where we hope to be guided by listener suggestions. We will have a Discord channel up for listeners to interact with us. We hope you are going to enjoy our new show. So Jay, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a retired firefighter paramedic. I'm your basic family man. And, my wife says I'm a grumpy old man, but I don't believe what she says half the time anyway. I live here in central North Carolina, and I've had a lot of different interests since I've retired from the fire department. And this is probably the biggest one. How about you, Chris? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like you, I'm a firefighter, EMT, and haven't gotten to paramedic yet, but I am a firefighter, EMT, living in the northern part of South Carolina, like right near Charlotte, North Carolina, is where I'm at, but you know that. And Jay, how did you become interested in paranormal phenomenon?
Well, somehow, shape, form, or fashion, I've always, except for one house, I've always lived in a haunted house. When I was little, we lived in a haunted house, and the woman that haunted it, name was Miss Sally. And the quick ghost story, I guess you would say, about Miss Sally is she had her boyfriend went off to fight in the Civil War, and he didn't make it, unfortunately. He got killed, and she couldn't bear the thoughts of living without him, so she hung herself from the upstairs banister rail, upstairs. And we would hear footsteps at night, the typical boards creaking and whatnot, but the lights would either come on when you wasn't inspecting it. You could get up to go over to the switch to turn the lights out, and the switch would be in the off position. And you could say, "Miss Sally, would you please turn the lights out?" And the lights would go out. And the same thing in reverse. The lights would be on, and they would go out. "Miss Sally, would you please turn the lights back on?" And the lights would come on. It wasn't a 2 or 3 minute delay in between. It was immediate response when you ask her to either turn the lights back on or turn them off. She never done any harm to us. Just the footsteps and the lights. And once in a while, you would get the aroma of fresh baked bread, and nobody be in the kitchen doing anything, and nobody in my house except for my great grandma knew how to bake bread like that. And at that point, she was so far up in age that she couldn't do much in the kitchen
Right, right.
except stand back and supervise. And as I got older, we moved to Eli Whitney, which is a small community in the southern part of Alamance County. And almost immediately, we're hearing footsteps upstairs. No electrical phenomena, I guess you would say. And we found out that the woman that we bought the house from, her husband, had passed away in the house.
Oh, wow. You never told me that.
Yeah. He had a massive heart attack from what I could gather, and he didn't make it. And 2 years maybe after we moved into that house, my uncle passed away. Now, myself and my dad, God rest his soul, very interested in the Civil War. And my dad had a whole bunch of relics and books and everything. He basically turned the upstairs of that house into a museum, as you well know. And not long after my uncle died, who was also interested in the Civil War, the footsteps upstairs increased. Instead of a, like once a month thing, it was every day. And it happened almost immediately after Uncle Keith passed away. So we contributed that to Uncle Keith's spirit being upstairs in what my dad called the Civil War room.
Right. And I remember one day I was visiting you, and y'all had gone to the store. I was sitting there by myself, and there was just this horrendous crash upstairs, and I knew nobody was home, and that was just like freaky.
Yeah. A lot of weird things took place after Uncle Keith passed away, and my uncle on my mama's side, who was living with us when he passed away, he was a musician. He played bluegrass music, and he played the banjo. Well, one of my granddads on my mom's side, one of his banjos was upstairs and in the Civil War room also. And not long after he passed away, you could go up there and you could just barely hear it, but it was like somebody over there plunking on that banjo. So we figured we contributed that to Uncle Larry. So
Right.
and basically having a whole lifetime of paranormal experiences is basically what really kicked my interest into high gear of it. And I've been, kind of studying it and researching it and whatnot ever since.
Gotcha. So, as for me, my interest really peaked when I was in middle school and we took a trip to Gettysburg. I don't remember exactly what grade I was in, but there were all the stories of the ghost on the battlefield and different things that we saw when we were there. And that's where it kind of started. And then, like you, I've seen some strange things over the years. Different houses I've been into just had some really uneasy energy. My wife's parents' house in Burlington, the downstairs was like that for the longest time. You go down there and just get this really weird feeling of just like dread and just weird, really weak. When I was sitting down there on the computer, I'd just feel really weak. I'd get up and go upstairs and it would be fine. And so, yeah, I've been exposed to some pretty strange things as well.
Yeah. Well, if you remember when we all went to Gettysburg last year, my youngest son, he was up there taking pictures and he called a few things on that we can't explain. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, he had that app on his phone and he was playing around with it, and there was like a image sitting right beside him in the van.
Bladensboro, North Carolina is a small community surrounded by the pine forests and swamps at the southeastern edge of North Carolina Piedmont. It is also the setting for the greatest monster story North Carolina has ever seen. Now, the Beast of Bladenboro refers to a mysterious creature responsible for a string of deaths of animals in the Bladenboro, North Carolina area. During the winter of 1953 and 54, according to witnesses and trackers, it was likely a wildcat, but its identity was ultimately not definitively confirmed. According to reports, the animal commonly crushed on or decapitated its victims, which were mostly dogs.
The story goes like this. In the dead of winter in 1953 to 1954, an unknown creature terrorized a small North Carolina town with a then population of less than 800 residents. For 13 days, residents of the tiny town and its immediate surroundings were mortified day after day, as each morning they discovered the decapitated remains of their family dogs. Our story begins in Bladen County, in the town of Clarkton. On December 29, 1953, a local woman heard her neighbor's dogs barking and whimpering. When she went out to investigate, she saw a large cat-like creature skulk off into the darkness. That was the first sighting of the Beast of Bladenboro. 2 days later, the creature would strike again. On New Year's Eve, Bladenboro Police Chief Roy Forrest was called out to the farm of Woody Storm. 2 of Storm's dogs had been killed by something large and powerful. The poor dogs' bodies had been completely drained of blood. More reports started coming in. D.G. Haight said that he watched from his service station as a dog was attacked by a large creature and dragged into the woods. Chief Forrest was inundated with reports of dogs being attacked from across the county. People said they saw an animal like a bear or panther that was 3 feet long, 20 inches high, and with a long tail and a cat's face. Others reported hearing the creature scream coming from the swamps near the town, saying it sounded like a woman with a knife stuck in her back. On January 1st, the bodies of 2 more dogs were discovered. These 2 had been drained of blood. Chief Forrest decided it was time to call for help. A team of professional hunters was brought in from Wilmington to track down the animal. Chief Forrest accompanied the tracking party, and he said he saw footprints the size of a silver dollar. By January 3rd, 6 days into the nightmare surrounding the Bladensboro community, folks had begun to call the entity the Beast of Bladenboro. And by this time, an even more shockingly grim discovery was made. An autopsy determined that not a drop of blood remained in the dogs most recently killed. You can imagine what went through the minds of the community. Some even thought there might be a supernatural being at the root of the violence. The word vampire began to circulate, although the theory wasn't widely accepted in most residents. In all, dogs, rabbits, goats, cows, and hog deaths were attributed to the Beast of Bladenboro in that short span of time. Then, on January 5th, the Beast of Bladenboro attacked a human. C.E. Kinlaw described the creature as looking like a big mountain lion when it charged her on January 5th. A mountain lion is a term typically used west of the Mississippi River for cougar. The game warden of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, Sam Culberth, said the tracks he investigated indicated a catamount, yet another name for a cougar. Newspaper clipping from the local Bladensboro newspaper read, "Newspapers picked up the story, and soon Bladenboro was overwhelmed with a flurry of hunters coming in, eager to bag the beast. Over 600 men from as far as the Tennessee descended into the town. A fully armed pack of fraternity brothers from UNC Chapel Hill made its way down into the town to see about putting the beast's head on their wall, but nobody knew exactly what they were hunting. Speculation began running rampant. Some thought it was a Carolina panther, a species of large cat that had lived in the area until the 20th century, but was now thought to be extinct. Others said they were dealing with a coyote or a stray dog. Most of those who had descended on Bladen County thought it was the only way to find out for sure was what the beast would be by killing it. The town was terrified. E.V. Butler, who was a young man in Bladenboro at the time, recalled nighttime was a feared time around these parts. As the sun set, the entire community on the west side of town went indoors and didn't come out unless necessary. The fear of the beast had a very real effect on Mr. Butler and his family. We didn't live in the town limits at that time, and almost everyone had an outdoor privy. To supplement the outside convenience, most houses had a thunder jug, a big jug that could be used at night and emptied into the privy during the day. That jug got plenty of use during the scare. Other people described the animal as likely being a wolverine, while others speculated that the creature may have been a wild police dog. A.R. Stanton, a man from Lumberton, North Carolina, thought the Beast of Bladenboro was a German Shepherd and Hound mix named Big Boy that he gave to a Native American boy who lived along the edge of the swamp. Big Boy was dark and had a long bushy tail. Stanton claims that Big Boy was capable of leaping over 6 feet high and over a 6-foot fence and killed chickens from time to time. Lumberton veterinarian Angie Baird said that it was very feasible that Big Boy was responsible for the attacks. Baird also said that it was possible for Big Boy or another dog could have killed the other dogs and lapped up the blood rather than sucking it. Deciding that things were getting too dangerous, Bladenboro Mayor Bob Fussell and Chief Forest called for an end to the hunt. On January 13th, taking an unusually large bobcat that had been tracked by a local farmer, the two men hung it up a flagpole in the center of town, and they posted a sign underneath stating, "This is the Beast of Bladenboro." After a week or so, the things settled back to normal. The hunters left town, and the reports of killing stopped coming in. Whatever the Beast of Bladensboro was, it had vanished back into the night and the swamps from where it had first emerged. Literature about the events of the winter of 1953 and 54 tends towards skepticism, particularly because of the publicity involved for towns through the sensational news reports. Mayor Woodrow Fussell, who operated the town theater, went to Charlotte, North Carolina on January 6th to book the film The Big Cat for a day. Fussell told an interviewer that he believed that the creature to be a hoax, even though he was the one who called the Wilmington newspapers about the dead dogs. He found the manner of their death strange and said that a little publicity never hurts a town. History had forgotten this bizarre event that happened in North Carolina years ago.
Until recent sightings occurred. 50 years later, reports of a large cat-like creature are still turning up. The early 2000s saw a host of pets and animals killed in Rowan County, attacked in the same way as in Bladensboro. September 2007, 60 goats were found dead and drained of blood in Lexington, North Carolina. Glenda and Bruce Floyd, owners of the goats, found them early one morning, 30 miles northeast of Lexington in Greensboro. Billy Yao, his goats were also killed in the same manner. The throats had been ripped out and the bodies mutilated. October 2007, Bill Robinson found this 3-year-old pit bull terrier eviscerated. Robinson buried this dog, but next morning found it was in the same spot where he had originally found it. 4 days later, Leon Williams found his 2-year-old pit bull dead. His chain was stretched out across the ditch, covered in blood, with pieces missing from the carcass. There was no sign of a struggle. Brown, Midway, and Rutland Roads in Brunswick County saw the death of 10 dogs during a 2-week period. The tracks of the predator matched those of, to quote, the beast from Bladensboro. Resident Robert Smith found tracks around the church and neighborhood gardens, saying, quote, "My fist could fit in them," end quote. And he had never seen tracks like that before. Animal Services examined the tracks and droppings, but never determined its origin. The most recent report of an attack comes from a rural family near Lincolnton in 2010. They told police that their vehicle had been ripped and shredded with a strange claw-like mark found on the vehicle. They also noted that the tracks around the car were very strange, as they could only find them around where the vehicle and nowhere else.
So, Jay, why do you think the beast attacked these animals, if not for food?
Good question. Marking his territory, maybe. Um, Trying to show who's the um, alpha predator, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I guess that really depends on what it really was that attacked. I mean, I know some animals kill for fun, and that could have been very well be it.
No.
And
Well, if you stop,
oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you think about it, if you got dogs outside and they see a strange animal coming up, they're going out of natural instinct, they're going to start barking at it, and maybe whatever this creature was felt fear for his life, maybe, and attacked, and done what he had to do to survive.
True. And why do you think the beast moved its territory on the recent sightings, as they were all 120 plus miles inland from the original attacks in Bladen and Brunswick counties?
That's another good question. My best guess would be maybe it's not the exact same creature, but maybe it's offspring. Maybe it bred with another creature and expanding its territory, for lack of better words.
I mean, it would really have to be something like that because it was 50 years between the two attacks.
Yeah, and if it was the same cat, that's one old cat.
Right. So, in reference to the previous question, with that much geographical distance between the two areas, do you think You think it's the same creature from 50 years ago, or do you think it's something different? Which we sort of hinted on that before, but
yeah, same but different. Like I said, maybe offspring, and maybe there's more creatures out there than meets the eye. I mean, you never know.
I know that I read some things on there that said that there was some people had witnessed them in pairs, and not just just a single creature.
Right. I could. Excuse me. Husband and wife, maybe.
Yeah. So,
you very rarely hear of a single animal attack, so to speak. I guess you say, like my dog attacking the 4 dogs down the road.
yeah.
They always seem to, when things like that always seem to be in packs. So I can definitely see more than one.
For sure. So, do you think it is in fact an animal type creature, or could it be a mentally ill person that did all these killings? And with a repeat 50 years later, maybe it was a copycat killer. I mean, no feline or canine species of animal has the ability to drain blood from a body like a vampire. Maybe it was a person that used some sort of suction device to proliferate the vampire legend.
I don't know. I think it would be more of an animal versus mentally ill person, because if you think back in the story, that the witnesses said he was like, what was it, couple feet tall and 3 feet long or something like that.
Right.
I mean, that's even shorter than my wife, and she's short. And it's I don't think it was a person. It's my thoughts is going to sway towards another animal.
Yeah, and I would have thought so too, but the only thing is there's no animals out there other than like bats that have the ability to drink blood or to drain blood.
Yeah. But it would we have people have only begun to crack the book open, I guess you would say, on the paranormal end of it. The ghosts, the cryptids,
Yeah.
Things like that. And who knows that maybe there is a vampire type
Cat.
creature out there. Cat, yeah. Yeah. That done it. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it's all in the what if until like it said in the like we said in the main topic story that we'll never know till one's put on the scientific slab. Kind of like Bigfoot.
Yeah. Now, did you have any additional questions that you might had other than what I came up with, or no?
Not really. No. You pretty well nailed them on the head as always. You really should have went for the work for the school system and designed their tests, because you come up with some good questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I do have some, I guess you would call it breaking news or subject of interest. I belong to a conspiracy theory page on Facebook. And I believe it was last Thursday, they had a picture of a photograph that was supposed to have been snuck out, leaked, or whatever from the Pentagon. It shows a picture of what they're calling a mothership orbiting the Earth. And it's a pretty good, judging from the picture, it's a pretty good sized looking ship. Now, here's where the interesting part come in. Over the weekend, it was last night, I seen it on the news. A news agency out in Northern California had been getting inundated with pictures and videos of mysterious lights flying through the sky. Now, they interviewed a Harvard astronomer and asked him what this was. And his thing was, it's space junk. It's the a communications satellite that was built by Japanese that was attached to the International Space Station, and it became obsolete. So they ejected it, and it come falling to Earth. Now, here's the thing. I've seen the videos, and it was two or three different people that posted videos. Now, usually space junk don't slow down.
No, it
it
just falls through the atmosphere until it burns up.
Right. And if it does hit, it's at terminal velocity, and when it hits. And space junk don't normally fly in a formation. Now, is this all a conspiracy theory? Or are we being visited again? Or, what's going on? If anyone has seen anything about it or knows any more about it, please, by all means, email us, because this has kind of got my interest up. Chris, if you want to give them the email address, please, sir.
Yes, it's firefighter274@outlook.com.
So if y'all know anything about it or even seen it and have video of your own, we'd love to see it.
It seems to me that this is just an urban legend that has been retold over the years. In my opinion, I think this is a hoax. I feel that at worst, it is in fact a cougar that did the recent killings. Just because cougars aren't seen in these parts doesn't mean they don't exist here. Who's to say that someone didn't have a cougar or two as an exotic pet that escaped? Maybe an illegal one, and that's why they didn't want to report it. In my research for the most recent sightings, the video that I watched had investigators to perform a blind experiment that involved playing a series of random animal noises from the woodline. Both of the witnesses were from different geographical areas, and they both reported the sounds that they heard and recognized from their encounter as the same sound, the cry of a cougar. Jay, your opinion?
I agree. The recent sightings, I believe, could be an escaped pet, like you said, exotic pet. But it still kind of brings me to question 1953, 1954. What was that? Except maybe an urban legend, but legends start somewhere and somehow. So, for the most part, I feel like it was just a big putty tat out of, that had gotten out and was doing this. But in the same respect, back in the 50s, drained of blood. If it was a cougar or something like that, they would eat the meat, not just drain the blood.
Right.
So I'm going to go 50-50. The incidents in 53 and 54. Who knows what it was? Go ahead.
I just don't see enough theoretical evidence for it to be anything like the mayor said. A little excitement is good for a town.
Yeah, I understand that part, but still, blood drained dogs. Who knows what it was? Was it an animal? Was it a person? Was it the mayor doing it just to drum up, business in his town? I mean, you could what if it to death, but as far as the recent sightings, yeah, I don't think that's the Beast of Bladenboro. I think that's just like I said, a big putty tat that got out.
Yeah. Well, in respect to what you were saying before, the Bladenboro actually has and this was in the research, but I didn't include it in the show. They actually have a festival every year about the Beast of Bladenboro. So, maybe it was the mayor or somebody originally making to make the place famous. These are small little nothing hole in the wall towns that had no industry whatsoever. So
yeah, I've been through Bladensboro about 3 times, and if you blink, you'll miss it. And I believe you and I watched the same sets of videos on it. Haven't they made the Beast of Bladensboro their high school mascot or something like that also? And
I believe so.
So take it and run with it. Shoot, if it makes you money.
Exactly. So don't forget to tune into our next episode of Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio, where we will discuss the top 10 most popular cryptids and in-depth discussion. We thank you for listening to the show. Hello out there to all of our loyal listeners. Jay and I just wanted to take a moment to make you aware of some programming changes. Effective immediately, we are only going to be recording and posting one topic-based show a month, instead of our normal bi-weekly schedule. This is to make room for our new live show that is in the works, called Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio After Dark. The format of this new show is going to be a non-researched, freestyle chat format, where we will, instead of discussing a specific topic, the topic will be whatever comes to mind, where we hope to be guided by listener suggestions. We will have a Discord channel up for listeners to interact with us. We hope you are going to enjoy our new show. You've been listening to Carolina Creepers and Oddities Radio. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. If you like our show, please help us out by providing a review. If you would like to contact us, please email us at firefighter274@outlook.com. Until next time, remember, fear not the dark itself, but what may lurk within it. If you stare at the dark too long, you will eventually see what isn't there.